Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Have you read it? Do you know somebody who's read it? Over 1 million people have rated Throne of Glass on Goodreads, and the average rating is 4.18 stars. Is it really worth the hype, or is the Throne of Glass built to shatter? I'm Andrew Palmer, that's the Literary Void, and welcome to LTN. Well, YouTube, you picked it, and I read it. So what is the Throne of Glass about? Well, we have Selena, or Celiana. I'm going to call her Selena. She's been imprisoned in a salt mine for the last 18 months or so because she failed her last assassination. Well, who should come to the salt mine looking for her? None other than Dorian Havillard, or Havillard. I'm going to call him Havillard, the king's son. Why? The king is having a contest for who can become the next king's champion. And Dorian wants to spite his father, so he's picked Selena, if Selena agrees. Well, what are the terms? If she can win the contest, after 6 years, she will gain her freedom. If she doesn't win, she'll go back to the salt mines. So it's a pretty easy choice. You have salt mines or a chance at freedom. Well, she picks a chance at freedom. So she accompanies Dorian back to the Glass Castle. While competing in the Glass Castle, Voidy, did it again. I forgot to have you set the mood. Can you go ahead and help me out? Really? That's what you picked? Okay, hey, you do you, Voidy. You do you. So, while competing in the Glass Castle, Selena has to fight against other thieves, assassins, soldiers, and there's one who stands out, Cain. He is this roided out, I'm going to take the contest at whatever cost kind of guy. And while they're fighting in like the second competition or so, there's people dying. Like contestants are disemboweled in hallways and no one knows what's going on. Selena is approached by an ancient queen, a vision of an ancient queen. She's not really sure whether it's the ancient queen or not. She's approached and says, I don't know what you're doing here. The ancient queen says, I need you to win this thing. Selena's like, why? And the ancient queen's like, oh my God, they're coming for me. Just win this thing, please. Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it for you and my freedom, because my freedom's really what I care about. But I'll do it for you too. Great, thanks. I'll be back later. That's kind of how it goes to some degree. Anyway, she continues to fight in this contest. And while fighting, she's developing this romantic entanglement with Dorian, the king's son who hired her to be his contestant. Well, not hired. She's not getting paid. She's not getting paid. Anyway, and Kael, her trainer, the King's Guard, the leader of the King's Guard, who's really impressed by her abilities later on, almost as if she weren't this famous assassin. It's besides the point. Anyway, a lot more things happen, and I'm going to leave those to you to find out. So what did I like about the Throne of Glass? Well, let me tell you. Well, from Sarah J. Maas, what would you expect other than a good romance? I mean, she kinda set the entire fantasy romance thing in action, I think. I don't know. That's what people tell me, at least. So I would expect nothing else than a good love triangle. And Sarah gives it to us. You have Selena and Dorian, who their relationship goes from being kind of bickering, shallow to, oh my God, you're really sweet and I kind of like you and have a crush on you. And then you also have Kael, who does a complete 180. He goes from I hate you because you're an assassin to, you know what, you're not that bad and I really like you and I'm willing to suffer public embarrassment. So I think that's a good love triangle. It seems to work well. She did a good job. Being an epic fantasy, I would expect nothing less than a good magic system, and Sarah gives us some interesting magic system. Glyph magic is like one of my favorites. Maybe it's all the World of Warcraft I played, but I like it. I'm really interested to learn more about it. The glyph magic's kind of this ancient magic that's built into the land by like the geometry of the rocks or something. I don't know what it's not a super hard magic system. It's, not Brandon Sanderson, but that's not the point. The point is the magic system is interesting and I want to learn more about it. And there's also the second layer of this magic that's been outlawed by the king. So it's cool. It's depth that I think will get explored later in the series. I don't know. So I'm on board. I like it. It was done well, or at least compelling. It makes me want to read more about this magic system. Now, I got to be careful because there's another aspect to this that I didn't like, but I thought that Selena came across as a really solid, this is what I expect a 19-year-old girl to sound like. She is ignorant of the world in all the right ways, and it reads that way. I like it. I think that this is some pretty solid character work, matching her age. But again, I have this one thing that I didn't like about that. And then I have another thing that I didn't like. So, should we just get to the part that I didn't like? So, what's the other side of the coin on the character business? Well, Selena is 19, and she's this renowned assassin, like Queen of the Underworld level assassin. I imagine that takes a very long time and a lot of hard work, and yet she's 19 and has had a previous lover who basically gets in the way between her relationship with Dorian and Kaol. I have a hard time believing that a 19-year-old has that level of status with a personal life. It just seems odd a little bit. But I'm almost willing to forgive all of that, except like in the 80-page mark, there's this thing that just infuriates me, and I cannot tell if it's because she's a 19-year-old girl or it's just like, wow, this is something that you should have fixed, Sarah. What happened? Selena is complaining that she cannot show how good she is in the competition. And Kaol is saying like, hey, you don't want to come off as like really good. We want to use this to our advantage so that you can come in later and spank Kane's butt. But, like, if she's the queen of the underworld, I would imagine that there's a level of professionalism and understanding that goes with that would have made her a little bit more willing to be like, hey, yeah, you know what? I should probably not show how great I am. Also, she's an assassin. I mean, assassins try not to get caught, or at least the assassins, like I'm imagining like rogues in World of Warcraft, like people who want to not be seen. And so wouldn't she already not want to be seen? I don't know. It just seemed odd. It bothered me a little bit, a lot. It bothered me a lot because it's just immature, but I can't tell if it's immature because she's 19 or immature because it's like, no, you just didn't write a good assassin. Also, we don't ever have her reflect on that. And so we don't know how good of an assassin she is. She's becoming physically strong again. And I feel like that's a great opportunity to explore all of these different things that she learned while she was an assassin coming up in training. And we don't really get any of that. And we also don't get any of the other hits that she had except for the one that sent her to the salt mines. I'm just saying, her being an assassin, I think that's the one part of her character that doesn't really work. So what's the other thing that I kind of had an issue with? It's the writing. I mean, there's nothing special about the writing. It's okay. I mean, grammatically, I think it's correct most of the time. I don't feel like there's any big issues there. But, like, you know, if she read it out loud, there's some phrasing that I think maybe she would have changed. Lots of, fricatives back to back or, things like that. It's kind of clunky. The writing is a little clunky. But that's okay. It's not like super bad either. It's just not spectacular. I think that it can be done better. And quite frankly, this is why I advocate for, one of the first things you should do is read your novel out loud. You will hear the clunkiness and it'll compel you, hopefully, if you're trying to get better, to change it and fix it and make it more fluid. Because yes, it's prose. It doesn't have to be poetry, but it should sound nice. And there's parts of the Throne of Glass that just my mental lips just have an issue pronouncing them, let alone like physical ones. Well, Voidy, I think we're done with the scene setting. You can probably turn that off. There we go. Good old Voidy returns. So Voidy, we gotta decide, are you gonna eat tonight or are you gonna have to wait until the next book? Well, Voidy, I'm gonna save this from you for now, You see, I was an awkward teenager growing up, and fantasy gave me a home, a place to be myself, and to imagine that I could be anywhere I wanted to be and wield the magic I wanted to wield. And so the errors that I see in this book, I'm willing to overlook because I have that soft spot for fantasy. Any other genre, it might have gotten thrown into the void, but this genre, I'm going to save it for now because I actually bought the first of Sarah's other series, and I want to evaluate, does she get better? The sentence level rhythms, do they improve? Does she sound better? Is it less clunky? And then the characters, are they full? Are they pillars that they need to be solid characters? I want to know. If she gets better, then I'm going to save The Throne of Glass and all of Sarah's work from the void. But if she doesn't get better, then I'm sorry, Sarah, but I'm going to toss you in there. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you have thoughts on Sarah's writing and how it changes over her career? I would genuinely love to hear what you have to say. Please leave a comment below. As far as the next book we're going to read, it's Evie Wood's The Lost Bookshop. You voted for it? I'm going to read it. I want to thank Gu Bra and Oleg Gemelinsky. You've put your work up on Pexels.com, and I have used it, and this video is better because of you. If you've liked this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It means a lot. And if you want to read my full critique of The Throne of Glass, go to learningtomaster.com. I put the critiques of everything that I read up there. Until next time, I'll catch you right here on LTM. You've voted for it. What does that mean?